Section 7.4, and this one says solving logarithmic equations and inequalities. We're not going to solve the inequalities. Okay, all we're going to focus on is we're going to focus on solving logarithmic equations. Okay, and so remember that logarithms and exponents are inverse operations. They undo each other. Okay, so remember logarithms and exponents are like multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. So they're like peas and carrots. Okay, so they undo each other. And so I have an example down here below how we solve this. And so remember, if I'm given the equation, we did this actually before all of our nieces stuff. If I have the equation log base 2 of 8 equals x, remember what I do to undo that logarithm is I raise both sides to the 2, and then those are gone. And then that leaves me with just 8 equals 2 to the x power. And so now I need to think, how can I write 8 as a power of 2? And you know that 8 is 2 cubed. Now what ends up happening is we can get rid of the 2's and we're left with x equals 3. And that's essentially what we're doing today. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at this first example. It says log base 36 of x equals 3 halves. So in order to solve this, I need to get rid of the logarithm.
So slash the 36.
Yep, so I'm going to do this to both sides. Okay, so on the left side, what I am left with is x equals 36 to the 3 halves power. Now you need to evaluate this without using a calculator. So in order to evaluate that without using a calculator, remember, we are going to take out the denominator. Okay, so the denominator, remember, is the bottom. So I can rewrite this as 36 to the 1/2 cubed. So see how I did that? I took out this number right here, the 2. And I wrote that as 1/2, and then I now cubed the rest. And so why did I do the 1/2? Because the 1/2 power is nothing more than the... The 1/2 power is nothing more than the square root, right? That's what the 1/2 power is. So what is the square root of 36? 6. So then I'm left with 6 cubed. So 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. Okay? So now let's look at this one. Log base 9 of x equals 3 halves. What do you do to both sides? The 9. So now what ends up happening is those are gone, and I'm left with x equals 9 to the 3 halves power. So now I need to simplify that. So in order to simplify that, I'm going to go ahead and take out a... Yep, so how can I write that? 9 to the 1/2 quantity cubed. So now I need to think, what is the square root of 9? 3. And I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to cube that. So then I'm left with 3 cubed, which is 27. So that is your answer. Questions? I want you to do this one for me real quick. Log base 16 of x equals 5 halves. Log base 16 of x equals 5 halves.
What? Why is there 4 actually?
All right, what's my first number here?
6.
Right here. 1. What's my next number?
2. 4.
What?
And the answer is 1024 because it comes out to be 4 to the 5th power. So your answer is 1024.
Oh, I only.
Let's go ahead and look at this one. It says, remember that you can't take the logarithm of a negative number. You can't do it. It's not in the domain. So if you get a negative, you need to cross that answer out. So let's go and look at this one. It's got logarithms on both sides, so in order to solve that, I'm going to go ahead and do this. Now what that ends up doing is that ends up allows you to cross that off and be left with x squared minus 4. On the right side, what ends up happening is that crosses off and we get 3x. So now what ends up happening is, this is what type of equation? Please get this right. What type of equation is this? It's a power of 2.
Yep.
Starts with a Q. It's a quadratic. Now we have 3 different ways to solve quadratics. 1, we can factor. 2, we can complete the square. 3, we can use the quadratic formula, or we can even graph it. We're not going to even worry about that. We're going to be able to factor this one fairly easy. So in order to factor, I'm going to get everything over to one side of the equation, which means you're going to move the 3x over. So now I'm looking for 2 factors of what? 2 factors of 4 that differ by 3. What are they? 4 and 1. What goes the first in the parentheses here? X. So now I need to attach signs. How do you get a negative 3 from that? Positive 1. So I have 2 solutions here. What are my 2 solutions? Positive 4 and negative 1. So if I plug 4 in here, and here, do I get both positive numbers? Yep, so that's an answer. If I plug negative 1 in here and negative 1 in here, do I get both positives? No. So that one is not an answer. You cross it off.
You always cross off.
Well, it depends if you plug it in and you get a negative there. Because you can't take the logarithm of a negative number. Let's look at another one. Log base 3 of x squared minus 15. So what are you going to do to both sides?
3.
3. So then what ends up happening when I do that is those end up crossing off. So I end up with x squared minus 15 equals 2x. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to move my 2x over. What type of equation is this? Quadratic. Good. So now I need to do what? Factor, yep. What will go the first in each of these parentheses? An x. And then what did you say? 3 and 5. Where did the signs go? Okay, so then now your solution here is negative 3 and positive 5. So let's plug in. If I plug in negative 3 up here, do you get a positive number or negative? A negative, so that's out. If I plug 5 in up here, do I get a positive? Yes. If I plug 5 in up here, do I get a positive? So that is an answer.
Question.
Yes?
What if you have like x squared minus 15 like 3x? Would that really happen?
So the question is, what would happen if instead of this, you had this as your problem, where you had log base 3, okay, of x squared minus 15. You might get something, let's just say equals 3, right? And what would you do then? 3 to both sides, right? So on the left side, that cancels, and you get x squared minus 15. What do you get on the right side? 27. So then it's just an equation that you would solve. Okay. So
my question was like, so you have a quadratic at the end of it, I'm looking like x squared minus 3x minus 15.
no, you'll be able to factor and solve on these. Okay. Otherwise, you could use the quadratic formula on there as well. So. All right, so here you go. This is what you need to make sure that you get done. You have page 480, 8 through 19, those of you that were on Thursday. You also have a worksheet that I'm going to give to you as well. Okay, so that worksheet will be due. Both of these will actually be handed in on Thursday. Now, Thursday, I'm not going to be here for your class. but I will be here for the earlier class, so you will watch a recording on Thursday. Okay, so that is the plan.
You said